go back over the past few months of your photography and choose 3 photos that you like the best and talk about them. I think going back over a certain period of time, a short period of time, and choosing some of the photos you like the best is one of the best ways to improve your photography because you can analyze it and sort of understand why you took certain photos and understand what kinds of directions you want to go in the future. And so today in this video, I'll do that. I'm going to choose 3 photos that I took in the past 3 months and, well, 3-ish months, and kind of talk about them, talk about why I really like them. So I actually have 2 photos that involve motion blur. And the reason why they have motion blur in them is because I've been experimenting with deliberate motion blur. These 2 mallards were just swimming in a stream, and I thought it was a great situation for motion blur. Why is it a great situation for motion blur? Because the water is moving at a faster rate than these mallards. You know, mallards often just try and keep the same position in a stream of water because they like that position for some reason, and then they feed there for a little while. So I experimented here with various shutter speeds. I think I was around 1 second to 1/2 second. And of course, you can't really predict what's going to happen completely because if a bird moves within that 1/2 second, you're going to get some kind of motion blur that you might want or you might not want. So this is one of the shots I like the best because it has some detail on the mallards. It's a little bit dreamy, and I like the overall composition and dreaminess of the photo. And the colors are pretty nice too. So this is one of those things, you know, if you're going out there, and I think every wildlife photographer has experienced this, when you get to the point where there's not enough light in your scene, you can either try and lower your shutter speeds to something like 1/30th of a second and get everything completely sharp, and sometimes that can work. Or you can try and go with the motion blur route. And if you go with motion blur, then you don't really need to worry about low light or high ISOs or a lot of noise, because you can just take photos like this, where you're at base ISO or you're very close to base ISO, and you can get a lot of image quality, and you can try something different too. I think a lot of times, even if you can handhold slow shutter speeds with very low light, the photo might not turn out as nice as you think. Even if you can get a sharp shot of it, or even if you can somehow denoise your photo, it might not be as good as you think, because after a while, the light loses a little bit of its sort of dynamic quality, and just the colors remain. So I actually think that's a very good situation for motion blur, because a completely sharp shot might be a little bit boring and like this. But with motion blur, you kind of emphasize those pastel colors a little bit more, and it kind of helps you sort of look at a scene in a little bit of a different way and do something a little bit different than the classic sharp shot, which you've probably had hours to do previously when there's just a little bit more light. Same with the next shot. The next shot is a shot of Canada geese flying through the air. I never miss an opportunity to take a photo of Canada geese because I like them so much. And I tried several times to get some motion blur of these things. I tried shutter speeds of 2 or 3 seconds, but I found that was actually a little bit too long. So I used a little bit shorter of a shutter speed. I don't remember exactly what I did with this photo, but I used a little bit shorter of a shutter speed, and I got just a little bit of motion blur, so you can still see the shape of the birds. You can still see some motion blur, but you can also see the general kind of shape of the birds. And I also like the gradient here too. You got a little bit of a blue to yellow-orange gradient in the sky. And that was pretty cool. And also all the birds are kind of separated. They're not intersecting or anything. So most of the birds in this photo have some good poses. So I like that too. The final shot I want to show you is, well, it's no secret, and I think I've mentioned it several times on this channel, that I don't like the cold. And the cold doesn't like me either, I think. I don't do too well in the cold, mainly because I don't breathe too well in the cold. It's too dry. I prefer hot and humid environments. When everyone else wants to get in the air conditioning, I want to be outside and in the hot and the most humid weather that I can find. Anyway, so what does this have to do with the last photo? Well, there are some trees nearby. I don't exactly know what kinds of trees, but they're long, spindly, like trees things. And I really wanted to get a shot of these trees that sort of illustrated their nature, exhibited the nature of these trees, but also kind of injected a little bit of nervousness or trepidation or an uneasy feeling, I would say, into the photo. And I think this photo kind of accomplishes that because it looks a little dark. Yes, it's kind of peaceful in a way because the trees are just sitting in a little bit of snow, but also it has a little bit of directionality. It has a little bit of kind of movement. And then there's that a little bit of an ominous theme in the background with those trees just out of focus. I really like taking these types of landscapes where there's part of the landscape out of focus. And I actually used a 35mm f1.2 lens, the same lens I'm actually using to film this YouTube video, to take this shot because it really can isolate backgrounds even at a fairly wide angle of 35mm. I, by the way, consider 35mm pretty wide angle. I know a lot of people consider lenses like 20mm wide angle, but I already consider 35mm fairly wide angle for the kind of photography that I do. So anyway, this landscape, I feel like it has a little bit of that nervous feeling. Maybe nervous isn't the right word. Maybe it's like a little bit of uneasiness. There's a little bit of uneasiness in the photo because it's a little bit dark. It shows has a little bit of a grunge feel. And I think that uneasiness comes through in this photo. And that's why I like this photo so much, because I think it communicates my feelings in the cold. I think the cold can be beautiful because snow and winter light can be nice. But at the same time, I don't really feel adapted to it. I don't really feel like I belong in cold weather. So I think this photo captures those feelings. And that's why I chose this photo as one of my favorite photos in the last 3 months. So if you want to do an exercise that can help you improve your photography, I suggest just going back in the past 2 or 3 months, selecting 3 photos that you like the most, and maybe writing a paragraph or 2 about them or talking about them with someone else that can help you kind of understand the direction that your photography is going in. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you again next time.